An independent school district to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present and that this meeting has been duly called and that notice this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Chapter 551. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present. Citizens may make comments about topics relevant to district business. Topics should be limited to 3 minutes. Comments concerning specific students or personnel will be heard in closed session. Please turn off the sound on all electronic devices. I do want to note that we're missing a couple of board members tonight, and they are out of town. And so with that, if you'll please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. At this time, do we have any citizens' comments? None? Okay, with that, then we will move right down into Superintendent District Update.
We're going to let for the clicker. Thank you, ma'am. All right, good evening, everyone. I know it's the school is out of session, but we still have a lot of celebrations happening in Bryan ISD. So tonight, I'm pleased to start with, if it's going to work, maybe not. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's working now. Most recently, several of us attended the Bryan College Station Hispanic Forum Annual Scholarship Gala. It was certainly a great night for Bryan ISD because out of the 60 scholarships awarded that night, students at Rudder High School, Bryan High School, and Bryan Collegiate High School actually received 45 of the 60 scholarships. So it was another great day for Bryan ISD as we celebrated so many students in the room. You can also see in the photo there, this was something new and different this year. We celebrated Osmond Gutierrez as he received a $7,500 scholarship to attend Gold Star Barber Academy to work on his credentials to become a barber. So this was a new and different scholarship, and we were so pleased with this Rudder High School student receiving this award that night. You can see in the photo we had, again, students representing each campus, and actually the top 4 awards that night for campus student campus scholarships in particular were all awarded to Bryan Collegiate High School students. So it was a really great day for Bryan Collegiate students. And this is just, if I can get it to click, another photo here of some more of our students receiving awards. In addition to our students, the recognition and the awards received that night, we also had some of our staff members receive awards. Fabi Payton, in particular, one of our former teachers at Rayburn Intermediate School, received the Presidential Excellence Award, so that was a great honor for Bryan ISD. And then also at Jane Long Intermediate School, we had Andrew Alvarado, one of our teachers there. She received the Educator of the Year Award. So again, these are top awards, our Bryan ISD teachers receiving them that night. We were so proud. It was just another great way to celebrate our students, and we are so appreciative to the Hispanic Forum for all that they do each year to raise the money to award our very deserving graduating seniors. So a great celebration. Another thing, even though school is out, our campuses are still very busy trying to connect and engage our campus. So this is just us shining a light on the Bryan High School Little Vikes Cheer Clinic. We had quite a few students, as you can see in the photo there. Get my screen to work. 115 campers participated in the annual Little Vikes Cheer Clinic. I know Rudder High School is working on theirs as we speak, but this is just a great way for our cheerleaders to reach out to the parents in the community to invite their students to come up and participate in this activity, because these are our future Bryan High School Little Vikings, as you see in the photo. And then we have another photo, just some more photos showing that it was ages 4 through 12, and it was a 2-day event. Huge turnout, lots of great fun for our students. I think our cheerleaders actually had just as much fun as the Little Vikes, as you can see in the picture.
Woo-hoo, there's two little Wallers.
Yeah, I'm sure you recognize a few of them.
My youngest is in the little orange bow on the left up, her
Oh,
girls help holding her up there.
I didn't even know that was your.
Yes,
Okay.
yay.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. You can see it was just a lot of fun. The parents loved it. They said it was a great experience for their students. And this is just another great way to connect again with the community, to invite these kids into the high school setting. And it shows them what they can look forward to when they become high school students one day. And then my final celebration, the Future Farmers of America, most affectionately called FFA, just held their state convention last week in Fort Worth, and this is truly the Super Bowl of FFA. I actually had the good fortune of going up on one of the days, and it is a sight to see if you've never been there. There were 12,000 FFA students from all around the state walking around in their infamous blue jackets with their school names and logos on them. And it was yet another great day for Bryan ISD because Bryan High School and Rudder High School was well represented in so many different ways. One example is that there are many officers among the group representing their districts and their regions, but we actually had a state officer from Bryan High School, Cade Conrad. He graduated from Bryan High School. He's actually enrolled now at Texas A&M University, and he was on the stage in a select few of 5 members as state officers leading this delegation of 12,000 students. Again, Bryan High School, so well represented. What you see in the photo here is actually a picture of some of the Rudder High School students, because one of the very prestigious awards that many students strive to obtain is called the Lone Star degree, and it's a very rigorous process. It's an application. You have to satisfy coursework and curriculum requirements and dedicate a certain amount of hours for community service. And typically most schools you'll see 1 or 2 candidates. And I'm pleased to share with you that we had 17 students from Rudder High School receive that degree. It was truly incredible, and they're in the picture there. And then we had some honorary degree recipients as well, which are community members and teachers and parents and people who support FFA. So again, it was just a great day. And as I walked around and talked to administrators in other districts, countless people came up to me and asked me, what are we doing in Bryan ISD to have such premier districts? Because Bryan High School and Rudder School are award-winning national chapters. So it's just a real great program at both schools, and we're so very proud of them. So that's my good news for tonight for our Bryan ISD. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving into our action items, the consent agenda.
I move approval of all the items listed on the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Dwayne and a second by Ms. Waller. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries as moved. And we'll move down into discussion and the regular agenda, starting with business services. Discuss and consider approval of unit interlocal agreement between Bryan ISD and the city of Bryan.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Mr. McCall. Tonight, we're bringing forward the agreement, annual renewal for the school resource unit, school resource officers contract. This contract includes 9 SROs, or school resource officers, and 1 sergeant. The cost this year is approximately a 5% increase. From $862,000 up to $902,000, and the main reason for that is going from 70% cost share to 75% cost share with the city of Bryan. That was something that was started several years ago to move gradually from a 50% cost share to 75%, and they've worked with us on that. They've held off during the COVID crisis. They held off a year on an increase and put that back another year. The breakdown of the officers on this is breaks down to 2 SROs at each of the the high schools, Bryan High School and Rudder High School, one at the Bryan Collegiate Mary Catherine Harris, the AEP campus, and then one at Davila Middle School and one at Stephen F. Austin Middle School, and then one which we consider rovers, but one at Rayburn Intermediate School, which handles half of the elementary, the west side element. That'd be actually the east side elementary, and then Jane Long Intermediate School, and that also the west side elementary to that. In the things that they do for that is they're on campus interacting with the students and staff. They are present for sporting events. They participate as well with the lockdown drills, attend school-based law enforcement training, have district-assigned radios so they can be on the same wavelength as our people. And I have here tonight Ms. Tracy McClendon, who's the Safety and Security Coordinator, is the main liaison, point of contact for them, and works with them and assists with the principals to go through that, anything that is needed from them. Basically they working hand in hand with the principals on the campus for any needs that they should have.
I move approval of the resolution authorizing the district to enter into an interlocal cooperation agreement with the City of Bryan pertaining to the provision of school resource officers.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Waller and a second by Mr. Stasny. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries as moved.
Thank you.
And next up is consider approval of the contract by PBK Architects for the fencing project at Crockett, Fannin, Kemp, and Johnson.
All right, thanks for tonight. So this is a continuation from the 2019 bond fencing projects that encompassed the rest of the elementaries, Rayburn, Long, Davila, middle schools. But this, like Mr. McCall said, this would replace the existing fencing at Crockett, Kemp, Fannin, and Johnson Elementary. They do currently have fences. It's just not the district standard that we went to in 2019 with the 6-foot black vinyl coated. So this would bring those schools up to date with what we have gone to as a district. And PBK was selected from our pool of architects where we did an RFQ at the beginning of the 2020 bond. And since they had previous experience with our fences, they know all of our specifications and standards. So it was a pretty easy fit for them to take this project on and get design drawings and specifications done quickly and get this project moving sometime this fall.
I move approval of the contract for Crockett, Johnson, Fannin, and Kemp Elementary fencing project to PBK Architects as presented.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Delane, a second by Dr. Davis. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries as moved.
Thank you.
Next up was discuss and consider approval of a contract renewal with the Kickstart Kids program for the 22-23 school year.
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is an annual renewal for a program that we've had in Bryan ISD for several years. I also have Josh Woodall from the athletics department representing the PE portion of this. This program started with just 2 campuses, and it did expand a few years ago. The price on this has been $65,000 per campus for several years. They did discuss this year going up on that, and we asked them to hesitate on the increase, and we finally agreed on that they would go up $3,000 this year, and we would start to look at the entire program next year and see where we are. They do a lot of things for us besides the just the Kickstart in the regards to they've helped when we've had overflow at one campus or something, instead of trying to add another instructor, if they had capacity from one, that instructor would go to the other campus and work on filling that need that way, as opposed to trying to add a second instructor, which would raise the cost significantly. And this is the first increase in the cost on this program since we've started it.
How many kids are participating in Kickstart now?
Yes, ma'am. So this current, let me just give last year's 21-22, or the current year. At Jane Long, we had 178. At Rayburn, 183. And at Davila, 70. And for 22-23, which the schedules are not completely set yet, but this is based on the students that have course requests. So Jane Long has 233, Rayburn has 276, and Davila has 60. So we're a little bit over capacity on the Jane Long and Rayburn, and so that's where the Davila instructor will travel to go and help those so that we can cover those.
You may have already mentioned this, but this does offset some costs that we would otherwise incur if we didn't have Kickstart.
Well, yes, sir. Those it's part of the PE credit for them. Josh could talk about that a little bit if we want. But yes, we would be having instructors. So you'd be paying a teacher salary and those kind of things. So it would be, if not similar, it may even be higher than that. But
That's my point, is that this is really all extra cost and maybe very little.
yes, that's correct.
I move to authorize district administration to enter into a contract with Kickstart for Kids for the 2022-23 school year.
Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Dwayne and a second by Ms. Waller. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries as moved.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan of Kickstart.
Made a lot of kids happy.
Very popular program.
See, it's good. Okay, next up, we have a staffing update from Human Resources.
Ooh, they're all coming up. Everybody to the front.
Appreciate it. I think we have a presentation coming up here in just a moment, but good evening. Mrs. Kuhn and I are here together to partner and discuss a little bit more and a little bit of an update about hiring, staffing, and in particular, our District of Innovation Amendment that allows us to hire people outside of the traditional teaching ranks and preparation programs. So what we'd like to start off with are just, the pathways to becoming a teacher. Mr. Falls, if you wouldn't mind advancing it. There we go. So when we talk about pathways to becoming a teacher, I think it's important that the first step is clear. Whether you're traditionally trained, alternatively certified, or entering Bryan ISD to become a teacher under the DOI pathway, everyone starts in the same place. We all hold a degree and a bachelor's degree. So regardless, that is the foundational aspect that's similar across all three pathways. How you get to become a teacher is unique to each pathway. The traditional pathway, I went through the traditional pathway where I took teaching classes during my undergraduate preparation. My husband is alternative certified teacher. So he earned a degree at A&M, and then he went back and obtained additional teaching courses and became alternatively certified. The third pathway that we are now able to allow is under District of Innovation with your approval from the last meeting. We're able to allow those who hold a degree to become a teacher under a different pathway. With this one, we have a lot of our DOI hires that we're going to talk about tonight that are already in an alternative certification program. They're just not certified yet. For example, we'll talk about one here in a little bit, actually several little scenarios, but I actually know one of our students, former students, who is now one of our teachers in the district. She was a substitute for us last year as a long-term sub. She holds a college degree. She went abroad to teach overseas for a number of years, but never obtained her United States or Texas teaching credential. When she came back here, she became a long-term sub in one of our classrooms, worked with us, is working on her ACP, and is almost done with her testing. This allows her to be hired now as a DOI and to continue to serve in Bryan ISD, something that she did successfully last year. And so for a number of the situations we're going to talk through tonight, you're going to hear that a lot of these people have been aspiring to be a teacher already, have been teaching in other locations, and now, even if they're not in that program, we offer additional training and support and mentoring specific to those who are hired under the DOI pathway. But I do think it's important that the foundation is clear. Everybody who's teaching in Bryan ISD has that foundation of a bachelor's degree to build on and to be trained with. So you want to add, Mrs.
No,
Kuhn?
you're
Okay.
perfect. So,
Thank you, Mr. Pauls.
our clicker doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay. So right now, we have hired 62 teachers under the DOI umbrella. So we're really excited about that. So we have, you can see the breakdown there, 8 at the elementary level, 15 intermediate, 21 at middle, the DAEP, the JJC campus, there's 3 teachers out there, and 15 at our traditional high schools. Like Barbara said, of all those DOI people, we have 39 of the 62, they are in an ACP program. And as they complete their ACP program, they will actually get a certification from the State Board of Education certification. So they won't be considered a DOI, they'll be a certified teacher at that point in time once they finish their exams. And then we have 27 of our DOI teachers who were our employees. They were instructional aides. We have a couple campus monitors. We had one over in Julie's building that's becoming a teacher. Let me think, a couple secretaries that are now becoming teachers because they sat in our schools with a bachelor's degree and watched how we did business for a number of years, and now they can become part of our teaching team and be a teacher for us. So we hired 62. And let me go to the next screen, I guess.
Can you share the stories?
Oh, thank you. A couple stories. Like, for example, we have an artist, a professional artist. She's lived in our community for quite a while. She's had a place in downtown Bryan. She has trained and professionally done lessons, and she's been a teacher at some of our private schools in our community. But she didn't have that teacher certification, so now, because of DOI, we can hire her, and she's going to be one of our elementary art teachers. So that's really awesome. Barbara talked about the history teacher, and actually that person she talked about has finished all of her exams. We're just waiting in HR to get her statement of eligibility from her ACP program, and then she will be considered a certified teacher. And then another example is we hired a Read 180 teacher. This teacher has a bachelor's degree in communications and a minor in English. And so what more qualification would you need except for the certificate that says you're a teacher in the state of Texas? But we're going to help her to possibly get that. And like we will and work with these people, we're going to encourage them to get into the ACP program just because that's a lifelong career that they could have, not just with Bryan ISD, but forever if they choose to be a teacher. And so I just wanted to share those things. So our current job openings, and this is just really amazing, just because I stood in here and we had 70-something openings. And right now, in our DOI eligible positions, and when I say eligible, those are our general ed classrooms, not our SPED, not our bilingual, and not our pre-K. Those are all federal funded, and they can't be DOI eligible. But if you look at our general ed, we have one math person in the elementary, one Spanish at the middle, and then you see 5 high school positions that are open. And that's it, as far as those. Now, if you go down to the second part of that screen, it gets a little scary because those are our special ed, our pre-K, and our bilingual. And our special ed, we have quite a few positions here that are still open. And to be honest, it's a tough job, and people who are certified SPED not necessarily want to get into that arena and teach SPED. And so we're just kind of stuck at the moment. So I don't know.
To speak to that one just briefly, though, one of the things that we are working on before school starts is the assurance for every parent. Your child's classroom will open with a teacher. And so our district office staff that are certified will be filling in those classrooms until we are able to find positions or people to fill those positions. We're also looking at some restructuring of some of the programs and the schedules to be more efficient with our positions. We are always looking for that, but in particular now the urgency is there more than ever. I will say this is not unique to Bryan ISD, unfortunately. Across the state and the nation, the shortage of special education teachers, is high on the list of every district, which is why this board approved last year a stipend for all special education teachers of $2,000, and then it's also graduated based on the placement and your area of service outside of that. But that is something that this board has done to try to attract additional special education teachers, but the need is high, the demand is high, and it is not one that we can use DOI amendments for. So it has to be a fully certified special education teacher.
Several years ago, I think we made a big jump on bilingual, on the
Yes.
stipends.
Yes, we did.
And I think we were kind of ahead of the curve on that one. I don't know where we are with regard to other districts, and maybe you don't either, but do you have any idea what other districts are doing on special ed and whether we're ahead of the curve, at the curve, gone
I'd
off
say-
the curve and into the ditch, or where are we?
I'd
I'm
say
assuming
all
we're not
bets
in the
are off
ditch.
this year with how those curves are going. And there's been a lot of response. We're thankful. Mrs. Warren is here. She comes from another district where she had stipends as well. And in fact, I think they were higher at this point than our stipends and in some of the surrounding areas. So what we're seeing is based on the need, the stipends for these positions are rising across the state at a rate that's unprecedented. And so I know we will be reviewing that and bringing it to you, but at this point, we know it's also, the positions are filled across the state. These people aren't eligible to leave their current positions and come over here because we're offering a different stipend at this point. It's one of those that's developed lately as people started realizing the vacancies to come. They started changing their salary compensation for strategic positions, and it's one that we're going to need to look at as well. Yes, sir.
But there is the potential for those who are certified SPED in Bryan ISD to want to hop over into a SPED classroom if the stipend were attractive.
And that's a very good point. We do have staff members now that will open up another position, but that position is likely to be eligible under DOI, where a special education position is not eligible under DOI. So it does give us more flexibility when we consider those options. So one of the things that Mrs. Kuhn and I work closely on, along with school leadership, is making sure that as we think through the needs of our staff, that we're looking at how do we support all teachers. So whether you're returning to Bryan ISD, what does your pathway for professional development and support look like? If you're new under a traditional preparation program to Bryan ISD, what does that look like? If you're alternative cert, and then if you're DOI. But we want to spend some time diving into that last one here. What are we going to do differently for those teachers that are hired under DOI? Knowing what you just found out about, that many of those teachers, about 45%, are currently in an ACP program already. And so we've been working with all of those. Mr. Falls, please help me. I got nothing. I'm so sorry. Looking at all of
Wayne,
those.
you want to come sit up here? We got a chair. Come on, you come sit right here.
So we work together to make a comprehensive program and plan to support those teachers.
So we have been working this summer on developing a new mentoring program, and so that is in the works. You're going to hear more about it from Mrs. McGehee and her team over in the HR now, but they're going to talk more about that. But they have a plan in place that will give real intensive support while these new teachers, DOI teachers in particular, are in the classrooms, and they'll be on the campuses helping them. So we're really excited, and that will come as we continue to develop that mentoring plan to you guys, so you know what that's going to look like.
Cabinet,
Do what?
the cabinet ones.
Oh,
It was on the first slide. We didn't move it.
oh,
over
we
here.
didn't do it.
No, we didn't. Move it.
Another thing we're going to do for support is Ms. Carabine's team, cabinet members, we're all going to have somebody that we're going to mentor. We're going to be that contact person, along with other people in this building will be a support person for people under DOI.
I was going to ask, knowing our leadership now, who's got them on speed dial, at every level, they can, depending on what their need is, and that they know exactly who they are. And the more we at cabinet level know what their needs are, then next year, we're better prepared for that, for the new ones that we have. And so I think.
Well, and I think it's just a real show of support for this non-traditional pathway, even though many of them have begun the journey with the training. for us to invest in them. We're all certified teachers. We're happy to help. One thing that's not official, and it's not on the list, but I'm working with Dr. Hugo Ibarra, because as you know, I've transitioned him into Carol's HR team, working on talent development and employee relations, is he's going to be out asking some of our community members, our faith-based leaders, and different people that already partner with us in so many ways to do something very similar, to adopt them, if you will, to mentor, to write a note of encouragement, to check in from time to time, because we want our new staff, actually all of our new teachers especially, to feel connected to our community and to feel supported and to have a feedback loop so that we can respond to them in the moment, if you will. So lots of very overt training and support for all of our teachers is forthcoming.
So, right before all of our teachers, our employees come back to work, we're gonna do some intense training with our new teachers. And the DOI in particular, they're invited to a jump start to teaching session, a full day with us, for them to learn the do's and don'ts of being an educator in Texas. And so we have that planned out, the do's and don'ts. They're gonna have, time to learn about curriculum and things from the teaching and learning team. So it will be a fun day. It's going to be in this room on July
28th.
July 28th.
all
And so if you have nothing to do, you might want to pop by and see what's going on. But we'll be in here all day with our DOI people. And then New Teacher Institute follows on the next Monday, Tuesday, and that's where they get intense training. They'll meet their mentors. They'll work more with the instructional team and get a lot of information about how to start your classroom and your curriculum and all that stuff. So they have 2 days of new teacher orientation. And then we have all this ongoing job-embedded professional learning.
So like Mrs. Kuhn mentioned, we're going to start at the end of July, on July 28th, for the DOI teachers. That's their first official day. And then that very next Monday, that's a Thursday, we're closed on Fridays. That very next Monday is New Teacher Institute, August 1st and August 2nd. August 3rd and 4th, they're working on training from the teacher exchange days or the time equivalency days. So they're doing CHAMPS, or discipline in the secondary classroom, and they're also doing writing to learn, which is writing across the curriculum. And then the very next day, the 5th, is back to school PD day. So you can see that their school year starts next Thursday. That's a very aggressive timeline and a big commitment. That's how much these people want to be teachers in Bryan ISD. So it's behooving us then to work on how can we coach them job embedded all along the way. We're thankful that we have instructional coaches on every campus. We have coordinators and specialists that can go and support. And so all of these teachers are going to have job embedded PD along with mentoring. Some of the best PD comes from your mentor teacher. And it comes from that dialogue where it's one-on-one with your mentor. But outside of that, we will have campus-based job-embedded PD along with collaboratives. Every division and department in general education and curriculum and instruction, bilingual education, special education, although they're not eligible for DOI, sorry about that. So all of those have after-school collaboratives, which are optional for teachers, but they provide specific training and support for what's coming up next in the curriculum. And it gives them basically make and takes, things they can turn around immediately into their classroom in the upcoming units. So you kind of get a skeletal structure of what's coming up next in the curriculum. So all of that's ongoing and will be actually more robust this year than in years prior. And then we've also discussed working in partnership with some on-demand sessions at key times. One of the things we learned from the pandemic is when you need help, you need help, and you need help now. And you don't always necessarily have time to go and find them. And we think that might be true for this group of teachers coming into the district. And so we're going to have some dedicated times and hours where it's, if you've got questions, we're going to be on a Zoom room from this time to this time. Here's the topic and expert that's going to be here during that time. If you've got questions, log in and ask us. It'll be at a time where it's available to any teacher to come. But specifically these teachers, what are your questions? How can we help you? And come hear it from the expert, whether it's bilingual education or it has something to do with RTI. How do I handle supporting my students in intervention? What do you need help with? And here's that series of experts that are on demand for you and ready to answer questions for you. So trying to think a little differently about how we offer supports to them. Supporting that further into the next summer, anticipating a return and anticipating success this year with our students. Again, this is, or with our new teachers, this is something we've been successful at previously, is offering them some differentiated PD next summer. We're starting now, July 28th, but we want to make sure that it carries on into a full course of support and optional training and required training for them next summer, knowing that we have meetings for mentoring during the school year, we've got faculty meetings, collaborative meetings. We want to make sure they're successful, but that we don't take all of their time when they need time to prep. So just balancing that support with time with them at the same time. So all of that to say, we've worked hard together, and the biggest tell will be the feedback we get from the new hires, like you were mentioning, Mrs. Waller. What worked for you? What didn't work for you? What would you like to see differently if it were you next year? So how can we better support, better help? But this is the plan going forward in this moment for the coming school year.
And Ms. Kuhn, did you want to mention the model with the retired teachers that we're developing as we speak?
Yes, ma'am. So, as you know, we had a lot of teachers retire at the end of this past school year. So we thought, what better group of people to try to get them to come back and spend time with these DOI people in the classroom. So we're going to reach out to those retirees and ask them to come in for the first 2 weeks of school and work with our DOI people on the campuses. Because there's some awesome people that retired and left us, and there's a huge hole for them to be gone, but maybe we can get them back and they can share some of those tricks of the trade that they've learned over their expansive school teaching years.
Have you already reached out?
No, ma'am, we have not. We just kind of finalized that conversation today in cabinet.
That's a good idea. Will we feed them?
Will we feed them? We're going to pay them. We are going to pay them, so I had to get a budget today to know what we could pay them.
That can come back on. Eat with no duty.
Walk out
Walk
the door.
around, smile, relax, enjoy. Psychologically, I think every retired teacher needs to do that.
Absolutely. But, you know, I just want to thank you as a board for approving this plan for us to move forward with. There's districts across the state of Texas that are missing hundreds of teachers. And if we weren't here, we'd be at 80 holes of gen ed teachers that we could not fill in our little community. But so I really appreciate it. Thank you for that.
I was putting the do's and don'ts on my calendar, and it auto-corrected to do's and donuts.
Going back to let's feed them.
Like a board member.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So acknowledging that Facebook is not a news source, recently in my Facebook world, I'm getting a lot of pushback about the DOI. And I think part of it is that the information that was given to the media was not specifically from us and has been misconstrued that we are taking any warm body and putting them in an educational environment. And so I would like to see maybe not this entire deck, not all 7 slides, but particularly 1 and 4 of this deck, add a prominent link on our website so that those of us that are seeing the pushback and are seeing it.
That's a great suggestion, and Clay Falls is working on it as we speak to get us some information out, to tell our story and to put people at ease. We do feel very good about all this because we did reach out to some of our counterparts in these Houston area districts, and they were telling us they have 300, 400, 500 vacancies right now. They are in a panic, and they're actually texting me asking, how are we using DOI to hire teachers? So some of them are trying to steal our model right now.
The thing that I'm seeing, though, is this idea that BISD is just putting anyone in any position.
Right.
And I'm seeing it repeatedly on there, and it is misinformation. But when I go to address misinformation, I don't have a link that I can put in that post that isn't just me going, shut up, stop it.
I think that's a fair point. I've also seen it in my non-official news Facebook feed. And you know, my husband and I have been talking about it. We're both educators. We've got children in the district, and we want the same for our children as we want for every other child, and that's to have the best educator in front of them that will help grow them as far as they possibly can the time they have with them. But it would be good for us to make sure we have clarity out there. There are other states doing vastly different approaches to teacher staffing right now that don't involve that foundation of everyone has a degree. And I think it's important for us to clarify that that is a requirement.
Well, it's our minimum standards,
It is.
and we can preach that and say it over and over, but the idea out there right now is not an accurate representation of what we're doing. And so having this documented somewhere where we can link it
Yes, ma'am.
into our things just kind of gives us a little more communication skill and power in correcting that misinformation.
What happened was, it was always going to be like this. I mean, the preparation of these teachers under DOI and was always going to be, I mean, even regular teachers could use this over and over and over again. But when the information first came out, it was right before the 4th of July week, and there was just this blurb that kind of came out about it. Well, we knew we were working on it, but that rollover week of the 4th of July, it just kind of hit the airwaves in Facebook and all the different media outlets, and then this came behind it. And so there wasn't anything we could do about when and how it came out at first, but you're right, Fran, but I do want people to know this was always going to be part of it.
100%. My only thing with it is the way people have run with it is not accurate.
Yep.
And getting this on our website I don't want to dig for it, right? Like, I need it on the front page of that this is what we're doing, because right now we have some stuff that's at the bottom of our website that talks about DOI, but I don't have this.
Okay.
And this is important.
It's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
for the feedback.
Are there any other questions for us?
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
It's fun to work with Mrs. Kuhn.
Brown noser.
Okay, next up is consider approval of policy DMA local professional development.
I'm going to open this if you don't mind, just briefly. We actually have a new TASB update 119, and it's going to be coming to the board at the August workshop for discussion and then perhaps consent at the evening meeting. But there was one particular policy that was included in that packet that requires to be adopted prior to August 1st. And so we've asked Mrs. McGehee to come and speak specifically to that one legal policy that had an update that requires a local policy that must be adopted prior to August 1st. So, Mrs. McGehee.
Hi, thank you for having me. The local policy DMA is something that you've done for years in approving our professional development plan. The new regulation that's put in is, or governance that's put in, is that there are certain trainings that they're going to require from an SBEC clearinghouse. We're in luck that we've been doing these trainings for years. They are part of our annual mandate trainings. So they're not new to us. It's just requirements in if they list this in the clearinghouse on June 1st, we have to make sure we're doing them. And we're blessed in the fact that we've been doing them. Some of the titles you will know will be Health Emergency Overview, which can include your AED training, seizure training, bloodborne pathogens. All of you are remembering, if you've been a teacher in this district, that you've seen these lots of times. Human trafficking, trauma-informed care, bullying, cyberbullying. Those are all the main SBEC clearinghouse ones. But there are also trainings in statute that also come in our plan. But what you need to know is that we have to specifically call attention to that we are pulling from SBEC Clearinghouse and that you guys will review and approve. So we're blessed in that area because we've been doing it for years. Are there any questions?
I move approval of policy DMA local professional development, required staff development as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Davis, a second by Mr. Wayne. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries as moved. Thank you.
Good evening.
And next up, we have considering the approval of the Student Code of Conduct for the 22-23 school year.
Good evening, Mr. Wayne. I'll do better. We're here tonight for the approval of the 22-23 Student Handbook and Student Code of Conduct. This is a non-legislative year, so there's not many changes. However, we did make some tweaks to align with our practices. We have Ms. Cody Satterfield here, who's our Administrator of Student Affairs, who will highlight some of those tweaks.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. So there were no actual recommended changes to the Student Code of Conduct this year because it is a non-legislative year. There were some recommended changes in our student handbook, such as the parent-family engagement policy that has been updated for the 22-23 school year. There's also been some updates to how we interpret and translate and provide those services for our families of Bryan ISD. AlphaBest has updated some of their pricing and information. Our grading guidelines were moved to online for ease of access for parents. They've been removed out of the appendix and placed online for parents. We did make some recommendations to the dress code for the upcoming school year, and we did also recommend some updates to the student ID policy for safety reasons so that the student picture is visible at all times.
What were the clothing updates? I don't remember seeing anything different.
For the students, we have sleeveless. We've not allowed that in previous years, and now we're allowing it. There was hair. Last year, we tried the colored hair, any kind of hair at the high school level. Now it's K through 12.
Okay.
And then we defined a couple of things in there to make it where our parents can understand it better.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm not real concerned about what you described, but even after the fact, I'm planning on going with this and voting for it, but it'd really be nice just to have those specific items highlighted and summarized, and it could probably be done in a couple of pages. And of course, in the future, I'd love to have that. I think probably we could all benefit from having that in advance. But anyway, just so I have it in case I need to refer back to it, it's hard to just look at the whole thing and try to find just every little, every change because it's so long. So, because I took a shot at it and I gave up the other night. So, so anyway, that's just a request. I don't know how much trouble that would be. Please don't go to a lot of trouble, but just a summary of those specific items.
Yes, sir.
I just expected anything to be highlighted, so I'm just asking the same thing as David. If it's a change or an addition or withdrawal, yeah. I mean, that's minor compared to a lot of years, how many there would be.
And I think it is, I'm not sure if it was highlighted in the first one that we got in the packet.
Okay, that's the student code of conduct.
Well, I'm not sure, when we got the original packet last Friday, I'm not sure if that one was highlighted. I notice this one now is,
Okay.
but,
Yeah, well,
Okay.
so,
Do you
within
think
the board book.
maybe Miss Lee uploaded the wrong one initially? That could have been what happened.
That could have been, yes. We submitted one, though, and I thought it was the highlighted one.
Okay.
I move approval of the Student Code of Conduct for the 2022-2023 school year as presented.
Second?
Have a motion by Ms. Dwayne, a second by Ms. Waller. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries as moved. Thank you. I'm sorry, which one did you make a motion for? We've actually
I
got two
did
here.
the Code of Conduct.
Okay.
But
I'm
I'm gonna
assuming
do
that was
the-
the handbook as well, or do we have a separate?
No, we have
Okay,
it separate
then
for
we
the
need to-
handbook. Yeah,
Right.
Brian's
We
handbook.
don't have another presentation, so if you want to go ahead and make the other.
I
the
think
second
Brian
motion.
has something to say.
But it's the MOU for the Ctec.
Okay, so I'll go ahead with this one.
David Reynolds tonight.
Okay, so I will move approval of the 2022-2023 student handbook as presented.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Dwayne, a second by Dr. Davis. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, motion carries as moved. And now we get to the Ctecs. And I think we have 1, 2, 3.
You do, yes, sir. Yeah, I'm getting to be David Reynolds tonight. I'm not going to sing, so if David's listening, he definitely can sing way better than I can. If you haven't heard him, he's amazing. He's in Fort Worth. He's actually presenting on behalf of Bryan ISD. He presents tomorrow, I think, at 11 o'clock, so we're very excited. He does that really yearly, and so they're going to talk about the rubric of excellence and what that looks like, and he's presented that really all over the state and the nation. So here today, just to consider approval of the 2022-2023 MOU between Bryan ISD, Snook, Caldwell, and College Station. And so it's a growing program, and you know the Ctec was obviously built and started a few years ago, and it's the students coming in from the neighboring districts are not at the expense of Bryan ISD. This is just something in addition to, which is really amazing. Number one, that we were able to qualify for this. Number two, we were able to find the spots, and that our own Bryan ISD kids are not having necessarily to lose out. And so it's just a win-win. The program is doing really, really well. Our largest program is welding, second by auto, and then just kind of go around from that. So it's a wonderful, if you haven't been out there, I think many of y'all have. If you haven't, you need to go and just see how it works. It's changing kids' lives.
So I'm going to pull a Mr. Stasny and assure you that I am going to vote for this, but at the same time ask, didn't College Station just open a CTE program?
Well, they have CTE
They
for
do.
comprehensive high schools. What they've done with their most recent bond is put money aside to build another facility, but it's not
No, ma'am.
replicating what we're doing here.
Right.
So they, for now, still plan to
Right.
join our efforts on this end.
Okay.
Because it's Kevin Ross and he's their director and we of course trained him up and
Yep.
sent him over there. He and David collaborate very closely and they're trying to not repeat the efforts. I think a lot of their energy is going on animal science and the possibility of a ag barn, but I'm not representing College Station.
Yeah.
That's just what I know.
They're just marketing like it already exists, and so
Yes.
I was just wondering.
So I don't know, do you have the numbers to tell them?
I did that for you,
For
David.
next year? Yes, ma'am, I do.
Yeah.
So for next year, Caldwell is going to send us, I believe it's 5 students. College Station is going to send us 21, and Snook is going to send us 12. And again, within that department, our automotive is going to have 11 students between those 3 different districts. The construction pathway is going to have 9. The engineering field is going to have 6, and then welding is at 12.
Okay, that's great.
Do districts ever come, well, I know people come through and look at the center, but do we ever train, or is that one of our goals, is to train districts? They may not have the money available and things, but do we train districts?
So we do have districts coming out regularly to look at it. And then not only our districts and teachers and just educators, but the community at large, I think that's what you're referencing.
Right.
They do that very regularly. So I would have to step back and let David probably answer that question
Well,
differently.
I
Maybe
can
know
tell
that.
you, in Bryan ISD, our CTE program is premier in the state, and a lot of people come here to look at our model because we offer it not only at the Ctec, but as you know, we offer many of these programs at Rudder High School and Bryan High School.
Right.
So yes, when people are looking to expand or to start or to build on what they
That's-
have,
Because
they
I know
come here.
there's grant money out there, I mean, lots of it, to be given to the district that makes the effort to train other districts so they can start, have their own startup. And I know about that, and so I just need to make
Yes,
sure
yes,
that.
and we apply, a lot of those are couched under Perkins, and that's how we were afforded the Perkins, with the Perkins Reserve Grant a few years ago, we got the $750,000, and that's how we expanded the Ctec to include all that new equipment, and that's when we became the regional workforce development site, and we started inviting the others out to see us. But I know just from, visiting with people at the FFA conference, people look to us to see what we're doing. It's sadly, in many districts with budget cuts, people still continue to cut their CTE programs, and it's, on the contrary here.
Yeah.
We're working to expand it because of the amount of interest we have from our students, not only in Bryan ISD, but from surrounding districts. So we've got a really great thing happening here. And as you know, the industry, business and industry are drawn to this community right now because of what we're doing with workforce development.
My family has directly benefited from this program. Both boys that have graduated from Bryan have have been in these programs. My daughter is going to be a sophomore. She's in cosmetology and on Cheyenne. So when you look at it, it's the and. They can do this and whatever else they want to do. So really, really blessed, really lucky. I appreciate the leadership of the board. I mean, honestly, finding the money to be able to open Ctec and be able to offer our kids additional resources and programs, it's like, again, it's just life-changing.
Yeah, I want to share one more brag point. Again, I saw and learned so much when I was with the FFA kids. One of our Bryan High School IB diploma students just graduated, accepted to go to Texas A&M. She is a star in our orchestra, and she is involved in FFA, and she's a state contender now with her science fair project. And she is just an amazing student, giving back in so many ways to our community. But she's a perfect example of a high caliber student graduating, I think, in the top 5%, IB diploma, playing in the orchestra, and is an ag student representing us probably on the national level. We suspect that she will advance. So this is the type of students we serve, super well-rounded, and many districts can't claim that because for some reason their higher achieving students shy away from these types of programs. So in Bryan ISD, we've got something going quite well that we draw every type of student.
Right.
That's amazing. Great.
I'll just add one thing. Some people hear IB and they don't know what that is. International Baccalaureate.
Yes.
I think I pronounced it correctly. And that sounds so much cooler, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Sorry, we speak in abbreviations and acronyms. Yes, thank you.
I move approval of the Memorandum of Understanding between Bryan ISD and Snook ISD for student enrollment at the Career and Technical Education Complex, Ctec, as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Dwayne and a second by Ms. Waller. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries as moved.
Yes. For Caldwell, right?
For Caldwell.
For Caldwell.
I move approval of the Memorandum of Understanding between Bryan ISD and Caldwell ISD for student enrollment at the Career and Technical Education Complex as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Davis and a second by Ms. Dwayne. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move approval of the Memorandum of Understanding between Bryan ISD and College Station ISD for student enrollment at the Career and Technical Education Complex as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Waller and a second by Mr. Stasny. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries as moved.
Did we do Snook?
Okay,
I did.
and
I did
Yeah.
Snook.
we got all three. The next item is actually for the board to consider. That this is basically, let me go back to it. It's a 22 nomination information for positions on the TASB board. These individuals have to be nominated by their local boards for TASB positions which are vacant or have expiring. We do have to have this submitted by August 29th, and I just wanted to ask if anybody was interested in serving or being nominated for the TASB. If you'll let me know either now or the next couple of days, and we can get the nomination on the agenda. Doesn't have to be nominated tonight if you want to look at it, but I did want to have an opportunity to bring that to everybody's attention. We will be more than happy to nominate you.
No, stop.
All right.
Creep your people.
The board will now convene in closed session to discuss the following items as allowed by Texas Government Code, Chapter 551.074 and 551.072. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of discussion in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes in the open meeting. It is now 6:59. Board reconvened in open session at 7:24. No action was taken in closed session. And if there are no other comments or issues, we are adjourned.